and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you to another episode of Oh My Olympics, podcast by the bridge on the Tokyo 2020 Olympics that's coming soon. This is a platform where we just talk everything Tokyo, things that matter and much more and beyond. I am Siddharth and I'll be your host for the chat. Before we begin the episode, I would just like request our viewers to drop in those likes, comments, and hit that subscribe button. Your support and love means a lot to us and it inspires us to do much more. And today's topic is very special in many ways, because the year 2020 saw the rise and emergence of people accepting about mental health and discussing mental health in a way that was never seen before. And the emergence of bio bubbles in sport and the way it has been associated with sport over the last 2 years is something we wouldn't have imagined 3 years before. So we will be talking about how the mental health and the challenges an athlete faces inside the bio bubble. And to start off with that, I'll introduce you to the panelists. First we have Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, who's the goalkeeper of the Indian national football team and Bengaluru FC. He's been a winner of the ISL Golden Glove twice and is the only Indian player to play in the Europa League. So welcome, Gurpreet. Thank you for joining us. How have you been doing?
Thank you. It's lovely being here and be a part of an open conversation about so many other things which are important other than sports. I have been fine. I got the opportunity to be outside a bio bubble for about 20 days and it was nice. I won't kid. But I think this time has been very tough, not only for, us sports person, but everywhere around the world, everyone has been struggling. So, I hope everyone is safe and sound and has got vaccinated.
Thank you, Gurpreet. I hope you are safe too, life outside the bio bubble. Next, we have Dr. Swaroop Savanur, a senior sports psychology consultant to elite athletes and sports team, mental training coach and peak performance coach at the IPL team Punjab Kings, the founder of My Mental Coach, a sport-allied peak performance organization to help individuals and organizations perform strategies and reach satisfaction and the best version of themselves. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us. Very glad to have you here for today's podcast.
Thanks. Thank you, Siddharth, for having me here. It's a pleasure to me among such an elite group of speakers today. And I hope to add value to this very good topic that you guys have come out with, the bio bubble and, the difficulties and challenges that teams, organizations, players face in this phase of uncertainty.
Thank you. So we're definitely looking forward to hear from your experiences and the challenges you've had in the last 2 years. But before we start off with the podcast, I would like to introduce you the final panelist, Mr. Vijay Lokapally, somebody who is a very prominent sports journalist over the last 4 decades, somebody who's inspired me to start writing for sports, somebody who I have been grown up reading. And he has been covering sports since the 1980s, and he has been an author of multiple books, namely Virendra Sehwag's story, Driven, the Virat Kohli story, World Cup Warriors, Pace Merchants, and the latest one, the Hitman Rohit Sharma story and Houseful. Thank you, sir, for joining the call. We are very, very happy to have you confirm with us on such a short notice.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here with Dr. Swaroop and Gurpreet. I have 3 friends who talk a lot about you. One is Gauss Mohammed, Lobi Kapadia, and Nilanjan Datta. So I get to hear about you a lot from them. And you've been an exceptional footballer. We all know it. So it's a pleasure meeting you on this platform.
Thank you, sir. Same here.
So we'll start off with the entire concept that came in the 2020 with sports coming back and people kind of depending on sports again, but with a different touch, without fans, with limited contact. So what was your initial and the first reaction to the bio bubble? How did you react to the limitations? We'll start off with Gurpreet because you're a part of the Indian Super League bio bubble. So what was your first reaction when you read about the restrictions and how the bio bubble will work? How challenging you thought it would be?
To be very honest, in the beginning, we all underestimated what a bio bubble can do and what it might be like. You always have experience staying in a hotel every now and then with previous training camps, but being in a bio bubble is totally different, which means you're limited to only a very specific space in a hotel, and you get tested every 2 or 3 days, and you can't roam around and do your normal things other than being in that space. So in the beginning it was very, very tough because we started with staying in a hotel room for 14 days to quarantine ourselves, and that was really tough. After 7 days, you when you get restricted to only a small space, it gets to you mentally, and you want to do things, and you want to go out and be normal, because that's what we've known. So it was extremely tough, but there were so many efforts made by our club to keep things normal, keep things light and bright, but still it is a very tough situation to be in.
I can not completely relate to, because I've never been to, but it sounds very challenging, and I can only imagine how difficult it would have been. So are you dreading again to go back into a bio bubble because the ISL will be starting soon, and it looks like to be again in a bio bubble? So are you like again rethinking that, what should I do and how it's gonna be?
I think you can't prepare for it, even if we've had stayed in a bio bubble. It totally depends on where we are staying, if it's an open space or not. If it's a closed space where you don't have access to open air, it makes a huge difference. In the ISL, we were staying in a hotel where we didn't have access to open air from our rooms. It was something which I struggled with personally, because I'm used to having my window open and hearing the breeze or hearing the traffic or things like that, which make you feel a part of the outside world. So hopefully this time BFC does a good job getting a better hotel.
I hope they are listening, and they will definitely make your stay at the bio bubble easier. We'll shift to Dr. Swaroop. So as Gurpreet mentioned, it's very challenging to be a part of the bio bubble, but I think it's more challenging for a team's psychologist and the mental health coaches to prepare in order to make things easier for the players in the bio bubble. So what was your feeling like when you heard about the bio bubble, and what were your initial thought processes on how should the team approach it so that it becomes easier for the players? Because you were a part of the bio bubble with the Punjab Kings in the IPL last year, and again the first half of the IPL this year. So what were your thought process going in?
So first of all, I had that experience of working with athletes who had just started travel. These were individual athletes who were going for pre-Olympic qualifiers that had started maybe in November, December of 2020. And they were sharing their experiences and challenges. So in that, because of that, I think so I knew what the challenges would be. But when it came to the IPL, because of the diverse, because the players who come from so many different geographical areas and age group wise also, you will see we had a few athletes who are very young, who are looking, they have just come out of their homes and they're directly playing. But we also had international athletes who are going from one bio bubble to another. So the fatigues that both of them had were completely different. And as a mental coach, my job was to look at it from a bird's eye view and try to provide strategies by which we can try to create that atmosphere of allowing the players to relax, in the bio bubble and giving them that space and time. Because normally athletes during a long season like an IPL are used to going out, relaxing, just being on their own, giving, they can do whatever they want to. And we tried to do that in IPL by giving them that space and time to relax. And I think so we were helped by the management, and allowing us to do that. So that is the thing that we did. But still, I think so nobody wants to be confined in a place. No, there's no doubt about it. And I think so the importance of social interaction is something that we realized as human beings that we want, especially in in this quarantine period that we all faced, and especially so for athletes who are confined to from one hotel to another hotel. And so I think so the challenge was to get that kind of social interaction to allow their mind to completely relax, and that I think so was the key challenge for me as a mental coach.
It is something that most teams did practice, and I can completely relate how difficult it would have been panning those challenges out for players who are shifting from bio bubbles. And every part of the sporting ecosystem was hurt in one way or the other because of the pandemic. And I would shift to Vijay sir and ask him, what was your reaction when you realized that, okay, you won't be in the stadium to cover matches or write about stories without interacting players? And how did you think the teams and players would be reacting in a bio bubble? Because you, being such a senior journalist, you have a better understanding of how players are and how players react in a team situation. So what was your reaction when you got to know that, okay, you will be covering those tournaments from home and not at the venue in itself?
Yeah, see, it was a very stressful experience for everyone, especially the players, because they have to undergo these hardships and then go out and perform. So it's not easy. We always knew that this bio bubble is going to cause not mental havoc, but it will be very stressful for them, to come to terms with things like staying in a room, not able to interact with their own colleagues, or things like being confined to a room like a caged, a lion. And when they come out, it's a different world. There again, they have to be very, very careful with whom they interact and maintaining social distancing. So it was something which did not come to them naturally. Most of the players, once they got acclimatized, they did come to terms with this thing called bio bubble. And it was always, I was in a committee where, the government has a committee of members of parliament where they were overseeing the preparations for Olympics. And they called a couple of journalists, some of us, for our views. And my submission clearly at the beginning was they have to ensure that they take care of the mental health aspect of players, because they were undergoing this stressful bio bubble business. It is very difficult to, if Gurpreet is given more time, probably he'll be able to tell you, it is very taxing, very, very taxing. And sometimes they do very abnormal things. They want to just run away from the room. They just want to give up and just go home. I know for sure players carried so many books to read, so many, they would watch cinema, but how much can you read and how much can you watch just sitting in the room? It is not easy. So I'm sure Gurpreet would know best because he has suffered it. I call bio bubble is a suffering. It is not enduring. It is a suffering, and we are imposing upon them. So which is unfair.
As you said, like, I think Gurpreet definitely took his PlayStation there. That's something we definitely saw. And because Vijay sir also said that we would love to hear from you, Gurpreet, I would like to know that, when you are with a team, sometimes you're like, okay, there is time when you need some time off and distract yourself from the sport, and especially when things are not going right. And in the last ISL season, there was a time when the results weren't going your way, and you probably would have needed that alone time, or just go out or take a day off, just do something that you like, distract yourself, be with your family, be with your loved ones. But that was something which is not available for most of the team in the bio bubble. And how did you react to that, and how difficult was it to focus and gather motivation to just go on when things are not going right?
That's a very good question, because that's actually the real situation which not just me, but most of the players faced, because as a player, you had this life before the pandemic where you had certain things in your life which you used as a getaway or a coping mechanism, or things that you wanted to do after a high performance match or training and things like that. But when you're in a bio bubble, you don't have access to all of those things. So being an athlete, to find ways again, to find new things to do, and to de-escalate from such high pressure matches and high performance games was very difficult, because in the beginning, like you said, there were games where the results don't go your way, and there are times where you don't want to even see the player who's playing in your team again and again. You don't want to see the same face every day wherever you go. Sometimes, like in a normal situation, in a normal club, what happens is, you have your own place, you go to training, you go back to your own place, then you see all of your teammates again the day after or something like that. Then you have the whole day to spend with your family, your loved ones. You can go outside, have dinner, or do whatever chores that you do in a normal life. But being in a bubble, you're confined to that space and those people.
Yeah.
So to be with them every single day for months and months and months is very, very difficult. I mean, unless things are going well for you, then it might be a little bit easier. But when things are not going well in your career, in team result wise, it's very difficult to look at that person again, or look at the team again and be like, okay guys, we need to do it again, because it is just a very alien situation that we had been through. So what I did, and what the club also did, is trying to find new coping mechanism, new things that one can do in such a confined space. Like you mentioned, I had my PlayStation. Like sir mentioned, so many players were carrying books and having Netflix and Amazon and things like that. So it was a new experience, but at the end, I feel like you do need your space and time and social interactions to be able to go out there and perform again and again.
I think, as you mentioned, that when things are not going right, it's one of those situations that you need the people who love you the most and your well wishes the most. And I'll shift this to Dr. Swaroop. Gurpreet, coming from a bio bubble, which is of a team sport, he still had teammates that were around him. And even though when situations were going right, things were different. When situations are not going his way, things are different. How would the bio bubble be for an athlete who's performing in an individual sport? Somebody like a table tennis player, or somebody who's a tennis player. So you have worked with elite athletes who are representing India at the Olympics. And how have you helped them prepare for a situation like that? Because they won't have fans to cheer them. They won't have their entourage, their families to support them. They'll be in the Olympic village. They will be literally all alone, just with their coach, who probably they've been seeing 24/7, 365 days a year. So how did you help them prepare for that situation?
Yes, Siddha, that's a wonderful question. Because the fact is, with teams, you have got your team support. You've got a couple of players within the team that you can actually talk and share your anxieties. But as an individual athlete, it is a big challenge for an athlete because as an individual athlete, he knows he himself is responsible for his win and loss. He cannot hide behind anything, and I think so. That's the reason that the challenges for an individual athlete are surely much more greater. And one of the key things that I have been talking to athletes is to accept this new reality. I think so. As from a mind perspective, fact is that the more we try to think of things that we control, there are anxiety ways increase. For diabetes, for a diabetic patient, him not having sugar is something that he'll always crave, because when he's a diabetic patient is when he will think only about sugar.
Yeah.
Today in quarantine, the only thing that we're thinking is why I'm not getting something, not able to our family. I wish these people would be there. And these thoughts is something that can drain us emotionally and maybe distress us, lower our energy, our motivation, and that can cause a drop in performance. And therefore, earlier an athlete starts accepting this new reality, starts being objective about this new reality, and starts looking at things from a more clear perspective of what are the things that he can do within the realms of possibilities that he has in this bio-bubble. The more he can feel that sense of control about his surroundings, about himself, about his performance, and the more therefore he can be on track when it comes to really performing. So the key step is to really accept this thing and then have those daily dinacharya, that steps that he needs to take, focus on them so that he keeps doing it one day at a time, and then which leads to the performance that he really desires.
I think these are the preparations that athletes have put in, and we'll definitely would be looking forward to in terms of Tokyo, that how they go about it. I'll shift the question to Vijay sir. And my question to you is, the athletes now know what their situation and surroundings will be. And India has had a reputation over the last decades in the Olympics that they come close and are yet so far. Before the 2008 Olympics, India was known for having a block where they would come close, stumble upon at crucial matches like the quarterfinals, semis, or are famous for finishing fourth. Now, where situations like this, where fans and the expectations add pressure to the performance, do you think that for an athlete that having no fans will be an advantage in this situation? They will be more clear and they will be solely focusing on the performance rather than the revelry and the pomp of the Olympics that goes around with fans and everything happening?
No, I'm sure Gurpreet will agree. You have to have fans. Whether they support you, whether they jeer at you, you have to have, because you play for them. You are performing in a theater. So if there is nobody to appreciate, how do you elevate? I mean, how do you enhance your performance? Because if Gurpreet makes a good save, the cheer from the crowd will ensure that his performance goes up manyfold in the next maybe whatever time is left in the game. But if there is nobody to appreciate, he's only getting to hear well done Gurpreet from his teammates, right? But there are times when suppose he's not doing well and the crowd is shouting at him, it can act to motivate him that, okay, I have to not perform because the crowd is not with me. He's playing in a hostile situation. And there are times when he can bring out his best when the crowd is against him. I don't know, Gurpreet will be able to tell me best, but you have to have fans watching you. You have to have, you interact with them. You make a save. There are times, if there is somebody near his goal post who must be cheering him all the time, so Gurpreet can look back and just say thumbs up to that particular fan, and that it kind of invigorates him. So it is a part of a sporting system to have fans cheering for you or cheering for you, but I think you have to have them.
I think Gurpreet must definitely be missing fans chanting his name, "Oh, Gurpreet Singh Sandhu," from the stands, be it for an India match or BFC match at the ISL. My question the question is for all three of you, and I just we'll go number wise, but so mental toughness is something Indian athletes were rarely associated with till the late 2000s. With 2004 and the 2008 Olympics coming in, we saw India winning crucial matches and medals coming in from Abhinav Bindra, Saina Nehwal. So how important has it become to have a team that prepares you mentally and helps you visualize in situations where you can excel in? And how has the mentality of Indian athletes changed over the years? We can start with Vijay sir, because you've had the experience of knowing athletes from the 80s till now. And how has the mentality of Indian athletes changed with elite performances over the years?
I think it has changed dramatically. They don't go there to draw a game or to go with the mindset that, okay, it's a very strong opposition, we may lose. Now, the whole the emphasis is to go and perform, go and win. And you look at football, it has made rapid progress. People keep talking about 56 mein ye hua and 62 we won the Asian Games gold, but times have changed. It has become far more competitive, and there is tremendous pressure because your game is being watched on television, the media is reporting, so you are under constant pressure to perform. So I am I feel for the players, not because Gurpreet is here, because we create needless pressure on them. Nobody is going there to lose. They all want to win. So they have hardened. When we talk of mental toughness, they have, because now there is support from there is support staff which is concentrating on them and trying to tell them that they have to play hard football now or hard hockey, whatever. And they have learned to play to their potential because there is a whole team which is behind them. And in these times, I can tell you, these modern players are far more mentally strong than the players of the 60s and 70s. People keep talking ki bahut acha football hota tha, but it was very different. Today, they are feeling far more pressure than what the pressure was many years ago.
I think you said that they all have support teams and they help. And I just want shifted to Gurpreet, and you are somebody who has been vocal about what you feel after a match, be it after losing the ISL final in 2017 and then winning it back with that loud celebration you had in Mumbai. And you have always been somebody who's vocal about what you are feeling in terms of football and beyond. We see it through your social media. You encourage people to speak what they are feeling, and you have started becoming an advocate of mental health. So what do you have to say about that, and how did that start?
I think firstly I'll agree with whatever he said, with fans being so important, and how situations of pressure are much more higher right now. It is because the number of eyes, in my opinion, have increased because everyone has a phone right now and they have access to every single match, and they can easily share their opinions and everything. So this is something which has evolved over the years with sports, and also with what you said is something which me as an athlete, I used to be a part of it, which is an athlete's bubble, especially especially male athletes, because we are always told from a young age that we shouldn't speak too much about what we are feeling and stuff like that. Don't express yourself, don't cry, don't do this, you're bickering too much and stuff like that, which in my opinion in the end harms you because it stays within you, and it becomes toxic at one point. So with initiatives like our club started an initiative called Care Around the Corner, which is something which helped so many kids, so many of the players to express themselves. You have a mental health coach with you, you have someone who you can express out to and stuff like that. So in my opinion, we have to break this norm about players need to be tough, that they dissolve all their feelings and they keep themselves bound to that. And I can't tell you how many nights I've wasted after games where I was thinking so much about the mistake that I did that I didn't sleep at night. And that is something I couldn't share with anyone. The moment I started to share it, you find a person that you can share it with. You can find other ways. You can write about it. You can make notes about it. So things like that, if you can, talk about and share about it, takes off the load off you, and you can move on quicker. That's one of the things which I think sports need nowadays because of the high pressure that there is, and the more way you have of dealing with all of this pressure and ways that you can winning or losing, the better you can become. And I myself have tried always to be very open-minded and be an advocate of the right things that I believe in, and things which are very, very rational and make sense I won't talk about things which don't make sense at all.
I think
so. Common sense is one of the biggest motivations for me to share my views.
One of the major things that stands out is fans and people who are in that bubble, that male bubble you spoke about, started resonating with what you started talking about, and they also started expressing slowly. And I think it started a change that has been really helpful. And shifting this to Dr. Swaroop, what Gurpreet said, that most athletes are a victim of expectations of others. Others kind of tell you this is how you're supposed to think during a tournament, this is how your approach should be. How important is your role here in identifying how an athlete approaches the tournament and the games the way he thinks and not the way others expect him to think?
Sure, every athlete finally is different, right? Every athlete has his own set of experiences. His genetics is different, his life history is different, his background is different, his education is different, his way in which his parents brought him up is different, and all these finally impact the mental state of an athlete and how he approaches, how he views his game, how he views winning and losing. And therefore, after a certain period, for me, every athlete is different. And therefore, the solutions, the strategies will be different for every athlete. But the principle, of course, remains the same. You can finally can control what you can control. And it's all about trying to see what you can do to keep your mind space within the realm of what you can do and maintain, have a clarity of doing the things without getting the distractions or without having these expectations bogged down to you. The beauty, I think, so that today that athletes have learned is that all these seem so simple to talk about, but it's so very difficult to do. And I think so, therefore, the good thing that has happened over the last 18 years that I've been, when I started this journey in 2001, when I came back from Switzerland, and I thought I would get a red carpet welcome. But when I came here, there was no carpet at all. Forget it being red. Because the thought process about approaching mental training, mental toughness was completely different. But now I'm happy that everybody's talking about the mental part and everybody's supporting this area. And today the challenge for athletes, for coaches, for management, for administrators is to see how we can now integrate mental training as a natural routine into a player's normal routine, along with this technical, tactical, physical thing. And for me, that is the area of focus that I work with, whether I'm working with an individual athlete or with teams. And as Gurpreet correctly said, and I think so, it's because and thanks to these athletes like Gurpreet and top athletes who have started talking about this, who have started saying that, yes, being mentally tough doesn't mean you not being vulnerable. Being mentally tough, in fact, is to acknowledge your vulnerability and then take the steps to start working on those. And I think so, it is this shift that has happened into, so as an Indian society as a whole and as an athlete society across, that has started helping people become more aware of how the mind can affect performance and how just by sharing and just by acknowledging it can go a big way in assuaging an athlete and helping becoming more better.
Yeah, I very much agree with the changes that have happened in Indian sport, and this area is something which has emerged and sparkled, and people have started talking about it. I think it's almost time for Gurpreet to leave, and I would just ask before you leave, I just want to ask you to share a message for the Indian contingent that is in Tokyo, that will be taking part in the Olympics game. What do you have to say to them, and how do you feel about India's chances at the Olympics, and what do you want to tell them about the bio bubble in one way that is going to help them?
Well, I mean, all I can say to them is all the very best. Good luck, because they have been through such a difficult time where, last year's Olympic was cancelled, and I'm pretty sure many of them were bogged down as well, knowing that the event was cancelled and postponed. But kudos to them to, restart their process again and again, work out, again, spend those 365 days in the gym sessions on the pitch. So, they deserve to be there, and they've already made us so much prouder by being there. And all I can say is that there's no pressure, guys, and just go out there and enjoy, because sport obviously is about winning as well, but most importantly is about enjoying it, because you love to play and you love doing what you do. So most importantly is go out there and enjoy yourself, because as a fan, if I see someone enjoying their sport, regardless of the result, I'll be happy. And that's what I feel like we should take from this Olympics. And I hope they make us even prouder with some medals. No pressure again, but as I said, they have already made us so much proud by being there. Taking India's name to the Olympics is a huge honor. And I'm really, really confident in everyone's ability, because I feel like they've worked 365 days even harder than most of the other athletes. So, I have very, very good hopes for everyone.
And thank you, Gurpreet. I think the message will be sent to them somehow or the other, and I hope they do well. Just before you go, I just wanted to end something on a lighter note with you. I just wanted to know, when is the big day? I think all of us have been waiting for since time you proposed in 2020.
Even I'm waiting.
COVID has delayed a lot of things.
See, the situation, unfortunately, is that my partner, she's from Australia and is in Australia. And due to the hard conditions right now, travel is not allowed for the people in Australia. So that's one of the huge reasons which has delayed the process. But as long as we are safe and things get better, the big day will come for sure.
Yes, sir. We hope it comes soon. And thank you, Gurpreet, for joining us. We really valued your presence here today. We love to see you soon, and best of luck with the AFC Cup coming in, and then the ISL. Thank you for joining us, and we'll continue the conversation with Vijay sir and Dr. Sarup.
Yeah, I would like to wish Gurpreet all the very best, and we are very proud of you, and you've been an exceptional footballer.
Thank you so much, sir, and it was lovely to hear your views and gain some knowledge as well. And I'll take that to myself and share it with the boys and make sure that they learn something as well from this.
Wishing all the best to you too, Gurpreet. It was wonderful chatting with you virtually, and hope to meet you in person sometime soon.
Definitely, sir. Definitely, you're doing the good work, and hopefully, we can channel your views and make sure that everyone learns more about talking about their vulnerabilities, like you said, and hopefully we can meet in person someday.
Cheers.
Thank you, Gurpreet.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gurpreet. Stay safe.
Thank you.
So my next question would be, I think it will be the last question that I will be asking. I won't take a lot of your time also. Dr. Sarup, when the Olympics got delayed in 2020 to 2021, now the athletes peak themselves so that they can perform their best in a way at the Olympics. What kind of a challenge was for them to, for you to prepare them to adapt to that delay, and how they can pace their peak performance that comes 1 year later? Because this is one tournament athletes live for. This Olympics is everything for them. So what kind of a challenge was you in terms when the Olympic Games were delayed?
So I think so. It was a huge challenge, a big challenge for athletes, because this happened near to the start of the Olympics, just 6 months before the Olympics was start. They had already created a way. Many of my athletes were so near qualification, and they were playing so many back tournaments on qualification. There were a few who were qualified, and for them to suddenly not train was a huge guilt. Because for the last 4 years, the only focus that they have been having was to train every day. And although technically it was fine for them to taper off and maybe not have that training, not the physical training stuff that they normally did, there was a huge sense of guilt that they felt that by not doing so, they are doing disservice to the game, doing disservice to the country, they are doing disservice to their own self. And there was a huge drop in their outlook toward Olympics. I say that so they went through a lot of upheaval, emotional upheaval, and I think so. Nobody expected this to pan out the length of time that it expected to pan out, and nobody expected the Olympics would be really called off, because this was something that is unthinkable, isn't it, at that time? And when they actually got called off, I think so it took some time for the athletes to have a relook at how they would go about it. So for me, it was about helping them get back to looking at 1-year goals, starting to help them create certain goal strategies. So how they could slowly, start building up their work again, and then of course having a chat with their coaches. So it was a tough period, but athletes have learned to be more tougher because of this experience. I truly believe that athletes have gone through it in an amazing way, and they have come out of this fire in simply fantastic ways. And I think so that toughness of what has happened in the pandemic, the understanding that sport is beyond what their life is, because so many people have suffered, it has just added a different edge to having the right reasons to perform to their best. And I think so there is a silver lining to this dark cloud, because I think so our athletes, what India has gone through in this pandemic, is really going to push our athletes to really perform at a different level. So, but yes, it was a challenge during that period, no doubt.
I think, and the way you said, that's the reason why they are our heroes. It's the way they go down and the way they come up every time they go down and, bounce back. And that's why we as a nation refer to them as heroes, and we expect so much from them. But the pile of expectations can vary, but the value the country gives them, and that is the major reason why, that they bounce back from every time, be it like a victory or a loss, and they continuously go on and on, even when situations differ. My question to Vijay sir would be, you have been majorly associated with cricket and then Olympic sports. And so what does an environment of the Olympics bring to the country as a whole? Because it's once in 4 years, this time it's once in 5 years. What kind of atmosphere does the Olympics bring to the country? And what do you start expecting from fans? And how is it when nations, the entire nation starts identifying heroes other than cricketers? So what do you feel about that?
See, you're right. I mean, I was involved more with cricket coverage, but for any sports journalist, I firmly believe that you are not a complete sports journalist until you cover the Olympics. So it is a great sporting spectacle which happens every 4 years. The best of the world come together, and it's a tribute to their endurance, to their skills, which are put on display, and the host city. I mean, you see, it's a nation, yes, Japan, but it is a host city which takes pride. It is a challenge for Tokyo to come up and produce probably the most challenging Olympics of modern era, where there will be no fans. There will be so many new things. I mean, as the tournament, as the Olympics progresses, we will get to know the new aspects of the pandemic, and I mean the problems, the situations, conditions created by COVID restrictions. But it is one great event we all look forward to, and we all know, I mean, what it is to be an Olympic gold champion. If you ask Sindhu, she may have won a world title, but if you ask her secretly, in her heart, she knows she has to have an Olympic gold medal. Even the greatest of athletes, they win the world titles, but they all look forward to an Olympic gold or an Olympic medal or an Olympic representation. You go and participate. So you go there, you meet the world's best athletes, you make new friends. So that is what all it is about, Olympics. So I think I don't know in our lifetime if we'll ever get to host an Olympics, Dr. Sarup, but but it is one great event. We all look, every sports journalist, every sports lover looks forward to.
I think I definitely agree. I think as an aspiring sports journalist, it's one of my dreams as well to be at an Olympics once, to cover them. And as you said, these heroes become a cult hero when they have a, an Olympic representation or a medal that comes along. That this is what makes them special. But when you mentioned about Tokyo taking the burden and the responsibility to host the Olympics, there's a lot of protests going on in Tokyo right now regarding if the Olympics should happen, should not, it get postponed again. What is your view on that? And what do you feel about that?
I mean, I feel sad that there are protests, but I'm sure Dr. Sarup can add, as the Olympics will progress, they will also get involved, the locals, those who are today opposing it, they will come to realize and respect the performance of the athletes who have endured so much of trouble being there. So at some point, they will also realize and begin to cheer the athletes.
Yes, I agree with you, Vijay sir, completely that I think so. Tokyo, Japan has got such a great culture. They are so welcoming. And I'm sure a time is going to come when they are going to be more open, and these protests are very natural. I think so. At the same time, we are going to see that changing sooner than later. I would also just like to quickly add, if I may, Siddharth, about a point in addition to what Vijay sir made about these expectations. I think so. One of the big challenges of athletes is maybe not realizing this burden of expectations that happens in Olympics vis-a-vis any other competition. And that is one of the reasons why I think so. You talked about our athletes winning world championships, winning Asian medals and Commonwealth, but maybe not really doing as well when it comes to Olympics. And the main reason is the underestimation of the kind of burden, that additional pressure that they are surely going to face as athletes. And I think so. It is managing these expectations. It is realizing this pressure and what they should be doing when they are going to surely feel this pressure. I think so is the key for our athletes to really perform well, which I hope this year they are going to surely circumvent.
Even I would be hoping the same, that India surpasses that expectation and brings back a lot of great performances. Performances that make the nation proud, and definitely hoping for a lot of medals. We have come to the end of the conversation today, Vijay sir and Dr. Sarup. Thank you so much for joining in and joining in for the Oh My Olympics podcast today. It was great having with you on the chat. If you have some words to say for the Indian contingent and the people who are listening to the podcast, anything do you have to say about us, the organization? You guys can add on, and it'll be great for us.
All I would like to add is let them do their best. I don't care. I want them to win medals, but if they don't win, let us not just, like Dr. Sarup said, create needless pressure on them. If they better their previous performances, please accept that, because if the opponent is better than you, it is better to accept it and then look to improve in the coming years. But I am with the athletes. They have worked very, very hard, and they've gone there to bring us laurels. So we just support them, and like there is this campaign going on, we should all cheer for India.
Definitely, sir. Dr. Sarup, any last words from you regarding the contingent and the athletes and the Olympics in general, about what the country should expect and react, and how they should react to keep the well-being of athletes intact?
No, I'm sure that our athletes are going to come back proud. They're going to come back holding their head held high, and they're going to make our country proud. And I think so the key is for them to keep focusing on how they can be the best version of themselves, not only in the sport that they play, but in showcasing what India is to the world. Because Olympic is all about that, isn't it? It's all about what we are as a country. And I think so that's what the beauty of Olympic is and Olympianism is. And I'm sure they're going to do that for us. And at the same time, they're going to bring a bag full of medals as a result of that. So I wish India all the best for this year's Olympics.
Thank you so much. I hope the contingent and the athletes and the fans will listen to what you all have to say. As we had discussed over the entire conversation, that this Olympics is very different from the Olympics that have happened before. There won't be fans. The athletes have gone through so much. There has been a year's delay in their, the competition and the performance. And we hope that the Indian contingent gives in their best and performs like they have never done before and makes the country proud. Medals would be an additional cherry on the cake, but we want our athletes to give their best and perform till the best potential they have. Thank you everyone for joining in for the podcast today. And all those who are listening today, drop in those likes, drop in those comments, hit that subscribe button. Support love to us. We'll give you more exclusive content in this series of the podcast. Keep waiting, and thank you for joining us. This was all from the bridge today on the Oh My Olympics podcast. Thank you everyone, the panelists and the viewers.